rAVe Radio. With rants and raves, you'll be okay. And today is your lucky day. It is rants and raves with Gary K.
Morning, everyone. This is Gary K, and thanks for joining me for another pre-InfoComm edition of my Rants and Raves videocast. Today, I'm joined with Sam Recine. Sam is the Vice President of Sales of the Americas of the IT and AV group, or AVIT group of Americas and Asia Pacific for Matrox. Sam, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Thank you for joining me. Now, obviously, Matrox is a big player in the AV space and has been for many years. 30 plus years. Dating back to building the best graphic cards in the world back in the early days before everyone else was building them. You'll be in the North Hall in booth 1563. As of late, in addition to video routing and distribution and streaming, y'all have sort of paved the way for some new methodologies for signal routing and distribution. HDBaseT first off, and then now with the AIMS Alliance IPMX proposed standard, and the fact that you've already adopted it and already have products coming out, are already delivering a line of products that use it. I'd love to know, sort of like, if I walk into your booth at InfoComm, again, North Hall 1563, what am I going to get greeted with? Because you make so many different things.
Yeah, so in the Matrox booth, we're showing our traditional integrated IP-based solutions. So our focus is delivering IP-based workflows to build video walls, to have encoders and decoders run on your LAN or your wide area network, or even across the public internet, and to support KVM workflows over IP. We support all manner of KVM, including point-to-point, or over LAN or WAN, or even over the public internet. We have the ability to extend over very long distances. So a lot of the Matrox focus is just mixing and matching these IP-based products in spaces like control rooms, or collaboration environments, or signage, or AV environments.
Yeah, and what you have something unique, because you can do very high bandwidth locally, so like inside of a room or inside of a building, and then go low bandwidth when you're sending it across the network, or even lower bandwidth if you want to go across the internet, H.264, 265, and beyond. So you have an interesting mix of products out there that are sort of like both encoding, decoding, and real-time streaming all in one, that work both on the digital signage realm and in the presentation space. Obviously Matrox has a family of products, and a lot of integrators already sell those products, but I'm also curious about your feelings on, and where you see the momentum with regard to finally having a standard for AV over IP, most specifically the AIMS Alliance proposed standard known as IPMX.
Yeah, so IPMX has continued to make great strides, even since the last InfoComm just a few months ago. Several members have joined AIMS recently. There's been several companies that have announced.
Yeah, Barco being one of the most recent ones. That's a big one.
Barco, Lumens, and others as well. Yeah. So IPMX is a combination of ratified standards in IEEE and SMPTE. It builds off of SMPTE 2110 in combination with technical recommendations from AMWA for networking devices, as well as technical recommendations from the Video Services Forum for how to handle certain things that are popular in Pro AV, such as EDID management and HDMI connection management and things like that. So it's actually, IPMX is based off very mature standards in broadcast, and all of the new elements that have been added to SMPTE 2110, and in combination with things that make it easier to use in Pro AV environments. So one of the big differentiators between SMPTE 2110 and IPMX is that IPMX makes SMPTE-like products work on much easier to configure enterprise networking. So you can run equipment on an asynchronous enterprise network and not have the really complicated PTP network to manage like in broadcast. So you get a lot of the same key features, all of the supported workflows such as uncompressed audio and video, or mezzanine codecs, or compressed codecs. You get all of the NMOS layer, which is device registration and how devices interact with each other on a network. And you have the ability to support a really, really, really good latency and um, payload experience on both PTP networks or asynchronous networks. So IPMX gear works on either type of network, and this is very, very useful.
Yeah, and do you have a sense for when we would see the standard voted on to be ratified, or how does that work? I mean, what's the process that it has to go through now?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff that's in IPMX is already codified and ratified
Okay.
and are part of IEEE standards. It's only the new stuff that has to go through that process, and that's a continuous process. Just like SMPTE 2110 had multiple stages where different things got codified as standards, IPMX is going through that same process. So right now, the technical recommendations are published on AMWA and VSF websites. The public can just view the TRs. They're open and public, and that has to go through the SMPTE process and the IEEE process in order to become standards. But that's already ongoing. That there's constant progress on what gets codified from the standards bodies.
I was really impressed at ISE that Barco was announced as a partner, which would logically mean that they're going to put an IPMX input on projectors and displays and make it easier for signal routing, maybe even build a whole ecosystem around that, because they do come from the switching world years and years and years ago. Could we expect it at InfoComm to see more announcements like that from other big brands?
I'd be highly expecting many companies to be talking about IPMX at InfoComm. I sit with our colleagues at Barco on the Pro-EV working group at Ames, and I think that there's a lot of momentum right now. In fact, what we're showing together as a community in the Ames Pavilion is actually a very, very powerful demonstration of what the benefit of standards is really. We've constructed a demo to really flex what you can do with a standard. What we did is we built a broadcast network, a PTP network with Arista switches and broadcast equipment. And we also built what you would find as a Pro-EV network, so using Cisco and Netgear switches. And that's an asynchronous network. And we have a bunch of hardware and software senders and receivers on the broadcast network.
Sending it both directions?
Yeah, and exactly. And a bunch of hardware and software senders and receivers on the IPMX network. And the content is actually being shared. And we're actually illustrating all of this on a direct view LED wall, which we're using as our multi-viewer for the demonstration. And you actually see sources from both the broadcast network and the AV network on the
same display
LED wall. Amazing. And that LED wall processor, which you'll see who the brand is at the event, is actually natively supporting all of this on the processor itself.
Yeah, so you just need one controller basically controlling both sides. That is very cool. And I think that's the reason why obviously so many broadcast companies have just rushed in to our market to offer the Pro-EV solutions. I think the response from that, and as you know, probably also QSC just recently announced IPMX adoption as well. Well, Matrox will be in North Hall in booth 1563. We're going to go there and shoot product videos and also talk about this more with Sam and also the IPMX team, the Ames Alliance team that'll be at InfoComm next week. I appreciate you joining me and giving me an update on this, and congratulations on all the work.
Thank you very much. And also check out the HDBaseT Alliance, where there's also some HDBaseT to IPMX gatewaying going on there as well.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be interesting because I could see HDBaseT being used in the room and IPMX to go outside the room in that case as well. So, but I really appreciate it. If you want to check out all of our coverage of InfoComm, just go to ravepubs.com/InfoComm 2022. Sam, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much.
With rants and raves, you'll be okay. Rants and Raves.